The 1950s was a decade that saw many cutting-edge innovations, especially in the car and motorcycle industry. Many people who were die-hard lovers of automobiles almost could not keep track of the releases that rolled out during the period. While some of these motorcycles left the world satisfied, we also saw some serious missteps in motorcycles. These bikes had the looks, sure, but they left a lot of riders cursing on the roadside. Here's a list of the 10 worst motorcycles of the 1950s and why they earned their bad reputation. Crocker Small Tank. When you think of the 1950s, you expect that anything released at that time defined the peak of innovation, but Crocker definitely did not get that memo. It had a small tank that looked decent, but it was so slow that it made riders feel like they had a better chance jogging down to their destination than letting the motorcycle get them to their destination on time. Due to the hype surrounding the sale, most people who went home with it could not help but feel disappointed. It was almost impossible to get someone to buy your own used motorcycle because the news of how bad it was had already gone around. Some might argue that it wasn't the worst in reliability, but with newer British and European bikes outperforming it, it became obsolete before it even hit the streets. It is fair to say that everyone opted for the better option. NSU Max. The NSU Max was known for its finicky overhead camshaft design. All was well and good for those who bought this motorcycle until they began to take more trips to the repair shops than they spent doing productive activities. This was because the bike was notorious for needing constant repairs. It promised reliability but became a wallet drainer for mechanics. It was even as bad as you experiencing your engine seizing up when you were halfway through a weekend trip. Riders who dared go long distances kept a toolkit close or kept a friend who was a mechanic close. That was the only way to guarantee that you won't be stuck in a random location while driving. Indian Brave. The Indian Brave was one of those motorcycles that had all the markings of a good idea but turned into a classic example of what happens when you stray too far from your strengths. Indian at the time was known for big, burly cruisers that oozed Americana and had a loyal following. But with the post-war market leaning towards lighter, cheaper bikes, Indians decided to try something different. And the result was the 250cc Indian Brave. This bike earned a reputation for being mechanically unreliable. There were common complaints that included engine seizures, electrical faults, and poor carburation. You just could not trust it for long trips, and that defeated the purpose of owning a motorcycle. Owners often joked that the only thing brave about the bike was trying to ride it without it breaking down. It's called the Brave because you've got to be brave to trust it'll get you home. The Harley-Davidson Hummer. The Harley-Davidson Hummer is a bike that makes you scratch your head and wonder how it ever got the Harley name slapped on its tank. This lightweight machine was far different from the thundering V-twin beasts Harley-Davidson was famous for. For many, it was a hard pill to swallow. At just 125 cc's, the Hummer's two-stroke engine lacked the grunt to satisfy anyone who was used to the iconic roar of a Harley. It buzzed like a chainsaw that would make your neighbors recognize that you're back, even when you're still a street away. Even children's bikes didn't have much noise. Velocette LE. The Velocette LE was a motorcycle with ambition that simply couldn't deliver. It was supposed to revolutionize motorcycling with its innovative design and practicality, but instead, it was the kind of bike you don't want to be caught dead riding. While it was marketed as the motorcycle for every man, in practice, it felt like the motorcycle for no one. The LE's 149cc and later 192cc water-cooled horizontally opposed twin-cylinder engine was unique, but it suffered from mechanical issues. Riders frequently complained about oil leaks, cooling problems, and the engine's tendency to misfire. Maintenance was a constant chore. The LE featured a step-through frame, leg shields, and enclosed bodywork that made it look more like a scooter than a motorcycle. With just 8 horsepower in its early versions, the bike also struggled to hit 50 miles an hour, leaving riders feeling like they were crawling along the road. Moto Guzzi Galetto. This particular motorcycle made riders feel like a joke themselves. It's like riding a confused farm animal that doesn't know what it wants to be. It had a step-through frame that made it easy to ride but left riders feeling self-conscious. It was a time when motorcycles were about freedom and style, but the Galetto just didn't fit the bill. Some would prefer to call it a scooter too, but it had some features that did not make it suited for that description too. So it was neither a bike nor a scooter. While it was practical for short trips and even basic tasks like carrying groceries, anything more than that was met with ridicule. The Galetto lacked the charisma and personality people wanted in their ride. It became a bike you owned out of necessity, not desire. Despite its 160cc and later 192cc versions, the Galetto was neither fast nor particularly powerful. It struggled on open roads and lacked the excitement riders expected from a proper motorcycle. After a full day going around with one, you're left wondering if getting a bicycle wasn't a much better alternative. The Triumph Terrier. The Triumph Terrier was an entry-level motorcycle that aimed at attracting new riders to the Triumph brand. While it had some promising features, it had some shortcomings that quickly overshadowed its potential and left many young motorcyclists calculating their losses. The Terrier's 150cc four-stroke single-cylinder engine was modestly built while it delivered about 8 horsepower. This made it sluggish and unsuitable for anything beyond casual city rides. If you bought a bike, it was because you wanted the fun and the power that came with riding one. This bike didn't have that to offer. Although Triumph had a reputation for producing solid, dependable machines, the Terrier fell short. Owners got frustrated with issues like oil leaks, poor carburation, and finicky electrics. Ariel Leader. This motorcycle was Ariel's attempt at creating a futuristic and all-in-one motorcycle for a changing market. I'm sure they must have believed that everyone really would dance for joy when they saw those featured. However, by the time the motorcycle was released in the market, it looked like it was designed by someone who'd never seen a motorcycle before. The Leader featured full bodywork, including leg shields, a windscreen, and even built-in panniers. While Ariel thought this modern scooter-inspired look would appeal to a broader audience, it instead confused traditional motorcyclists, who preferred exposed frames and engines. With its enclosed design and 250cc two-stroke engine, the bike was heavier than many competitors in its class, which made it slow and less nimble. Riders struggled to keep up with faster, more agile motorcycles on the road. Now don't get me wrong, these bikes had charm in their own way. There are even some people who like them as they were, but charm doesn't get you home when you're stranded on a dusty road. It taught most of us to stick to what works, and not let a pretty design fool us. A motorcycle is only as good as the ride it gives you, and some of these gave rides straight to the repair shop.